Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And here we are, middle of May, Mother's Day weekend. I don't know. I had no place to go, apparently, right at the beginning of this one.
A lot going on. It's Mother's Day. Mother's Day was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have been paying attention to our social media, then you know that we gave away a family 4-pack to go see our special screening tonight of Fast X, because that's the best Mother's Day present ever for this mom, maybe for some other moms too. I don't think we should generalize that just because it's an action car movie with explosions, that it's only for guys, because this is one of my favorite franchises. And so we'll all be there tonight. I know we usually say we won't see you at the movies, but tonight, if you won, we may see you at the movie, and we might be giving away, you might get some of our free prizes. And then we're going to talk about the movie coming up here on Movies That Make Us. So we have a lot of stuff coming up that we're going to get to see people at the movies with. We're going to have to change.
It's exciting.
Well, I don't think we can say we'll see you at the movies.
No, we have to change it to something else.
We probably will see you at the movies. Doesn't have the same ring.
Yeah. we might see you at the movies. We might not.
Who knows? It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Do people still go to movies? We'll throw that one out there. I don't know. But they do. Yes.
Yeah, we just had Guardians. We've got Fast X. We got Transformers. We got Indiana Jones. There's a lot coming.
Indiana Jones, not Eternals.
Marvels.
That movie has been wiped out of the MCU, by the way. I feel like all the movies that we've watched have just totally not ever touched anything that happened. No, what's the Marvels. Disney animated movie?
Oh, Elemental.
That's coming. Right. That's coming, and I'm so excited. Obviously, I'm so excited I couldn't even remember.
Pixar one. Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse is also coming.
Yes.
Little Mermaid, I'm going to see Tuesday, which I'm on the fence about.
I've heard great things about the girl.
My girls are so excited about the Little Mermaid, and I think that's the part that people are missing. Is I get it. Nobody is taking away your animated classic Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
But my oldest daughter, who I've brought to a few screenings, she's like, if you get into a screening, Dad, I want to go to the Little Mermaid. And I said, we'll see what happens. I did request that Movies That Make Us and Multiplane Podcast get to give away passes. I have not heard back yet, but I'm going to the critics screening, and I get to take my sister-in-law and my niece and my nephew. They're my youngest of my niece and nephews with me. And my brother gets to do whatever. He's not invited. But just 4 of us get to go. So I will be able to give you a facial expression. Yeah.
If it's
twice.
Well, I think though, either way, and my other daughter, every time we see anything Little Mermaid, she's really excited about it. So I think this brings a whole new generation of individuals who aren't as familiar with the animated. This kind of puts it in, terms that they're going to enjoy. Terms is not the right word, but in a medium that they're going to enjoy. And so
I get so frustrated with all the haters, because you got people who are just plain racist, who are like, mermaids shouldn't be black. It's like, what?
They're usually blue and green.
Exactly. If they're going to blend in, they've got to be.
They're
green
also
and blue.
murderers usually.
That's very true. Yeah, but then you have the people who are just very anti-Disney, or you have people who are just and I don't like the remakes personally, but it's they're not really made for me. So you know what? That's okay. But you see all the little girls who are so excited to see it. Especially little girls of color. You saw there's some TikToks of their reactions to seeing it, and they're she looks like me, and that just melts your heart. Like, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
The thing is, with anything nowadays, there's going to be people who are politically, morally, whateverly, like, opposed to whatever it is, and be very vocal about it. Just ignore it. Like what you like, enjoy what you enjoy, and
comment sections of anything. Like, I just I share them here with all y'all. If you see me in person or you want to message me something and want to have a conversation, great. But every once in a while, like I'm like, and I go into the comment section and then I quickly run away because I'm like, oh, yeah, this is why I don't come here anymore.
I like to, depending on what the post is, sometimes I'll look at it and I'll think, I'll bet that within the first 3 comments, there's going to be this specific comment. And then I like to see if I'm right. That's usually when I go into the comment section, and
then you fill out your bingo card and you're done.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, people will go and clean up their comment section before I get a chance to see. And so they've kind of deleted some of those comments, which, is fine.
Well, I'm excited because we get Little Mermaid in this new revamped, and then we get Across the Spider-Verse, which I'm also on the fence about. Like, the first one was so good. So it's just like, how do you, and it was so good because it was so new. You know what I mean? And then yesterday I got the worst yet best like nudge from Nike. I have the Nike app because I'm a member of
I saw Nike. Your post.
And so they sent me this, hey, we have the new Spider-Verse Nikes that are going to be coming out. Do you want us to tell you before they drop? And I'm like, how about you tell me how much they're going to be first? Like, they don't tell you the price.
Well, of course.
So I sent it to Dave because I missed out on the first ones. And now trying to find them, like, but the real ones from like real legit places.
Yeah.
So I might be taking up like 2 or 3 jobs just to buy those.
$200 is what I saw in the Nike app.
Yeah, the last ones were $250, so I figured they're going to be around that.
You know what?
And for Mother's Day, Dave and Sammy got me my clear plastic shoe boxes to put all of my Nikes in. They're going to be here in my office, in my closet.
Very cool.
And I've been building the boxes all morning. I'm going to clean my shoes. I'm going to stick them in there. And there will be a place just for the new ones. Hint, hint.
Nice.
Birthday present early to my husband, to the babe.
I hope it will be good. I know that there's always the risk that, how do you capture that lightning in a bottle twice? Because the first one was just so good. I think the only thing that my 6-year-old who loves Spider-Man said is, and it was weird. It was a spot on, oh gosh, now I can't think of his name. Never mind. It was going to be funny, but the more cowbell guy.
Oh,
Christopher Walken.
It
was in his like spot on Christopher Walken voice. He said, what this movie needs is more Spider-Man.
Because there's all the Spider-Mans.
Yeah. And so he, seeing the previews for, he's like, I've got a fever and the only cure is more Spider-Man. And so this is, I think, will be right up his alley because there's a lot of Spider-Man in this one. So
I think Ben's going to have quite the day.
He's going to enjoy it quite a bit. The movie could be awful, and he's still going to enjoy it.
Is Ben going to wear his Spidey suit to the premiere? I will wear mine if he's going to wear his.
I'm sure I can talk him into it. I don't think I was going to say, I'll see if I can talk him. What am I talking about? Of course he'll do it. He'll have to go without a mask because I think most of the theaters have a no mask.
But Miles doesn't wear a mask all the time. So
for a movie that centers a lot on like, we want to keep, like, Spider-Man historically has been, I don't want people to know that I'm Peter Parker, and then everybody knows that he's Peter Parker, and then he doesn't want people to know that he's Peter Parker. But for that, they walk around without their mask on a lot.
It's like the Mandalorian. It's on off.
Yeah, which is a whole new thing because obviously it's okay for Bo-Katan to do it, but not for Din to do it. I don't know.
A whole different episode.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about today. It is the day after Mother's Day, so we picked a classic Mother's Day film with Back to the Future.
When your mother falls in love with you.
Yeah, for those that are extra close with their mothers, this is the film for them, or their mothers are extra close with them.
This is taking a turn. We usually do these kind of episodes after dark. So
we like to switch it up. So
it's a little spicy.
Well, this is a good time to talk about it, though.
Yes.
We have, this is our second attempt at doing a Back to the Future episode.
Yes.
So there are a couple of episodes that you've heard us on the show refer to. One is the Ready Player One episode, which is lost to the ether. And then this Back to the Future episode, which we did at FanX a couple of years ago. We recorded it. We did not talk a lot about the movie. Something has happened with part of the sound, so we've never been able to publish that episode.
Yeah.
And so we thought maybe we could go back and revisit it.
Go back in time.
Go back in time to FanX 2021, maybe is that when we recorded it? I think it was.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
And we'll record it today. So that's what we're doing. And it's a good time as well. Val, you pointed this out. The Still documentary about Michael J. Fox is now on Apple TV Plus, and so you guys can check that out. I started watching it a little bit last night. It's fascinating. It's interesting to see him, and like he's just an amazing individual to keep going like he has with Parkinson's and do the things that he has. And
everybody asks me, like, is it a sad documentary? Is it about his disease? It's not. It's about his life.
Yeah.
And there's so much nostalgia. So if you grew up while he was growing up, which I did, watching him on all these different TV shows, in all the movies, it goes through where he was in his life during that time. Like, he dropped out of high school and his dad drove him from Canada to California to be an actor and said, okay, bye, dropped him off. And during the time where he was becoming so successful, like right at the beginning of his career, he was broke. He didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And so it goes through all of this. And then he even talks about how he got famous so quickly that it went to his head, and he was a jerk for a little while, because we all think of him as such a nice guy. But when you're a kid and you get that famous that quickly, and you're like 22 years old, he admitted, he's like, I was a jerk for a little bit. He had drunken nights with Woody Harrelson, because who doesn't, right?
Well,
imagine.
Well, it's funny. That's where the documentary starts, right? Is he's recounting an experience when he woke up in the morning thinking he was really hungover, and he talks about, was it another? I had been out with Woody Harrelson that night and the thing is, I don't think of Michael J. Fox in that context, because I think of him as, his characters from the shows. Yeah, the shows that he was in, Marty McFly and all of that. And so you don't think about that, but when these performers get so famous so young, it's easy to fall into a lot of those vices. It's easy for older people that get famous old to fall into some of those things as well. Yeah. And
I mean, and he was a kid and he had money and he was and you're hanging out with Woody Harrelson. I mean, I feel like, but
and you feel too, I'm sure you've got the peer pressure of everybody else is around you is doing it. You want to fit in. This is what the cool kids are doing. So you get all of that as well. Plus, then you've got the money, you've got the fame. People are just giving you stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. He goes over all of that. And so it's just so fascinating. I remember watching this, and then he goes like, this is where my life was while this was happening. And so you've got that nostalgia, plus you're just having these aha moments. And then he talks about keeping the biggest secret of his life, because he didn't tell anybody that he was sick for so long. Yeah. So it's just so fascinating. And it's for me, it's inspiring, but it's also just, I gave it an A, and I just really admire how open he was. I got to interview the director at Sundance, and he was just like, yeah, we've had carte blanche with him, and we got to follow him and his family and ask questions. And then they'll show you in the documentary that when he got too tired, because he can't control his body all the time, they had to take breaks. And him going through physical therapy and, all of this stuff. And his wife's been there, through the whole time. They all came to Sundance. He's coming back to Utah for FanX. So you might have a chance to meet him. So you might as well watch it.
Yeah.
And, get to know all the things and be a total stalker.
I am so nervous for him to come to FanX.
I am too.
Yeah. And
I don't think he's going to do meet and greets. I think he's just going to do his panel and then a couple of very, like, he's not going to sit at a table.
Yeah.
And have people.
I know they've sold some autographs and they're pretty pricey, and it will be signed. I just don't know.
It's going to be kind of what we did with Simon Pegg at FantasyCon, where it's in a separate room.
Yep.
There aren't any cameras, but he's not going to be sitting at a table that you can just walk up.
Right.
Yeah, he just can't do that. He can't do that. Like, I have pictures of him on the red carpet at Sundance, and I just don't feel good posting them because it's hard to get a picture where he doesn't look distressed, and I just don't feel good about posting those pictures.
Yeah,
right?
and he'll be doing photo ops and things like that. And all of that to be said, like, I think he's amazing for doing it, and it shows how much he appreciates the fans and their support and things like that. What I'm nervous about, and we have great fans here in the Salt Lake area and in Utah in general, but sometimes they feel a little bit entitled. And I think if there's going to be a time where, there's going to be delays at the photo ops, or there's going to be photo ops that just don't happen because he can't go, there are going to be people who are going to complain about it. And I just will punch them in the face.
Yeah.
Well, Jake's out there punching people.
You're going to see me. If you see me punching somebody in the face, it's because they said something about having to wait too long or having something canceled with Michael J. Fox. Punch in the face. That's it.
And the thing that's so cool with him too is, like, every single dollar that he's charging for this goes to Parkinson's research. Like, none of this is going to him.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, it's incredible, A, that he's here, B, that he's raising money for this cause. Just incredible.
Yep. Just be patient.
But I do worry about that too, Jake. I do worry about the blowback on I was promised this and I didn't get it. It's like, this is a human being.
Yep. Yeah. And we forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
And not only is he a human being, he's got some major things that he's dealing with. So be kind, be calm.
Yeah. But he is coming with a lot of the cast of Back to the Future, which is the movie we're talking about today. I'm excited that they're coming. I don't know that I'll be able to get into the panel because I know that it's like a lottery thing or whatever. But it's just cool that they're going to be here. This is one of my favorite movies growing up. I love Back to the Future. I remember watching it a lot. I remember wanting a DeLorean because of this movie.
Same.
I thought they looked really cool.
I wasn't a car guy, but I wanted a DeLorean.
Yeah.
A Lamborghini Countach and a DeLorean. Those were my two cars.
Yes, those were the two cars. I think that those were the ones. I had the Countach poster in my wall. Like, it was totally awesome. But then the DeLorean was like the dream, right? Even though it was so not a great car at all.
But they made it so cool in this movie.
They did, yeah.
Doors and
if you're gonna go back in time, you might as well do it in style.
Exactly.
So,
I remember seeing this one in the theater. My sister was a big Michael J. Fox fan from the Family Ties days.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anything about this movie and went into it and then came out of it. And I was just like, when can we see this again?
Yeah. Well, and it's one that I feel like is held up. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I enjoy revisiting it and going back and watching it. And I feel like my kids have enjoyed watching it, even though now everything's dated. I mean, you watch Back to the Future 2 and they go to the year 2015. And that's 8 years in the rearview mirror at this point. We still don't have flying cars or hoverboards, like real hoverboards.
And it's because we don't deserve them. Like, we're just gonna mess it up if it's
and you realize that if they were to remake Back to the Future, he would be going back to 1993.
Yeah.
In today's era. And that's sad.
Yep.
Well, this movie came out in 1985, which is a big year for movies.
Yeah.
That's the year we got Goonies. That's the year we got Mad Max. That's the year we got Commando. Like, we got all of these really big action-packed movies, plus, like The Color Purple. There a lot. Like, there are so many movies that came out this year. There was a what?
85 was a good year for movies.
Yeah, it was a great year. We've talked about that before. I've been on a couple podcasts as well that kind of talk about 84 and 85, which were really good years for movies. But what is really cool about this movie that was kind of kicking off during this time, I mean, we have another Rocky movie, and Rocky already really delved into making sure that you had a hook song, right? That you had a soundtrack, that you had a song that when you heard it, you thought of that movie. And this is definitely one of those that did it. We saw it then with Top Gun, you know, and it just kind of became more than what I thought they thought it was going to be, because with Rocky, we have the Rocky. With this one, we have such an iconic song that
there's a couple on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, it really kicked off this soundtrack of, you know, the soundtrack is just as important as the score, because before it was the score. Well, and now you've got the popular songs.
Well, and they didn't sell the soundtrack or the score really. That was just for the movie, and then all of a sudden it became, we could put these on cassettes.
Yeah, you're going to the record store and you're buying the soundtrack. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Huey Lewis and the News have got to be grateful for this movie because I mean, they had some good stuff and they were a big deal, but I think this movie
had the soundtrack on cassette.
Oh yeah.
I was playing it on my 3-wheeler.
Yeah. And it is
You're trying to get up to 88 miles an hour on this thing.
hoping that it just leaves fire in your tracks. Like that was one of my favorite things every time it would travel in time. And there's I think the songs were fantastic. You mentioned the score. The score in this is also really, really good.
It's so iconic.
I mean, some of the, like there are parts of the score that if I hear it, I can immediately picture the scene in the movie. Now, part of that is I have seen this movie probably no less than 60 times. I mean, I have seen it a lot of times in my life, but if you hear like the, that is a horrible impression of what the sound sounds like, but you hear,
we all knew what you were doing.
Yeah. You hear parts of the soundtrack and you know right where you are in the movie and you can picture it.
And I do think that this one out of the entire franchise, like you said, holds up a lot more than the others.
Three's pretty close.
3, I mean, it's, but there's still some slow, there's still some slow parts in 3, but like Dave and I during the pandemic, when they were showing all of these older movies on the big screen, this is when I had a chance to watch it on the big screen for the first time, because I watched it a ton as a kid.
Yeah.
But like it was at home on, you know, we rented it or not rented it, but we had a copy of it and watched it and watched it and watched it and watched it. And that's, I mean, I watched it all the time. And so we went and saw it on the big screen, and we were the only ones in the theater, I think. And it was so much fun to watch it. And what I really loved is the timing of the editing cuts, because it is such this movie that just like keeps you up the whole time. It's not like too fast like an action movie, but you're just it's there's something that you do with the lighting that they have, the constant upbeat music, and then the coloring and all the reds and the blues that come out of everything. And then you've got these bright paced cuts in the movie that just keeps you here the whole time. Well, not anxiety here, but like I'm so happy to be here hanging out with you, you know?
Yeah. And you have a very clever script and you have very likable actors. So you add all that together and it's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this was one of Robert Zemeckis' first films as a director. But I think he had a little help behind the scenes.
You think?
From Steven Spielberg, who was a producer on the film, or executive producer on the film.
If you've seen some of the documentaries about Zemeckis and Spielberg and kind of the men directors of that day, they all were backstage, backset, whatever, at all of their movies, helping each other out. And Spielberg was on set almost every single day at this movie, just like most of them. Like Zemeckis and like a bunch of other people, Scorsese on Jaws, when he was totally eating poo sandwiches, they were helping him out. So there's something to be said about the close-knit community of filmmakers back then, and not having this macho-ness of not being there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where they would just be there. What do you need? We're here. Yeah, very collaborative.
And I think
it's Zemeckis' best film. I think he's recently his stuff is just not.
It's either this or Romancing the Stone.
I love Romancing the Stone.
Two.
So much.
We need to do that on this show.
We should do that one. That is another classic.
That's another one I would watch over and over and over again.
Chemistry between those two. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. But this one is probably my favorite out of.
And that's in 1984.
Yeah.
So 84, 85. Like,
well, it was an interesting time for movies. And I think when you hear the movie industry is always changing, right? The film industry, entertainment, it's always changing. And right now we are in a season where it is all about these tentpole franchises. And that's what the big draw at the movie theater is. And I get that it does feel overdone. And when you hear people complain and it sounds like they're telling you to get off their grass or they're yelling at the cloud or whatever, like it's because when you look at the 80s and you look at some of these films that came out, there were so many fresh original ideas and you didn't have the big properties like you do now. And it was just different. I mean, when you talk about the Goonies, you talk about Back to the Future, you talk about Romancing, these are all really, and even Indiana Jones coming into being during that time and things like that. These are all fresh, original ideas. And, you know, Star Wars at that point was still a fresh and original idea.
Yeah.
And it was just so different. I think
it's so hard now because movies are so expensive. The salaries are so big. You have businesses running movie studios instead of filmmakers, and they have a huge requirement with the shareholders. They have to produce certain amounts of money. And so it's easier to sell something that people already know and that they're nostalgic about. And now you have the people who grew up on this stuff when they were kids who now have money that they can throw and to spend. And so that's why we get caught up into this. But I remember when making $100 million at the box office was amazing.
Yeah.
And now if the movie doesn't make 100 million, it's a complete flop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because there's so much that goes into it. I feel like though we could totally do like a month of Zemeckis and he definitely likes working with Tom Hanks.
Yes.
But I mean, Forrest Gump, Castaway, Polar Express, Beowulf, I didn't care for. What Lies Beneath is kind of one of those that intrigues me, but then I watch it and I don't know. Like I like it, but there's something about it that I don't let myself like all the way. I always forget, like, I know I liked this, and then I go and I start watching it and I'm like, what is it?
It's like beef jerky with me. Like every once in a while I get a craving for beef jerky, and then I have a piece of beef jerky and I go, that's why I haven't had beef jerky for about a year.
Yeah.
And then,
like and then it'll be another year until you forget.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I really want that.
Now listen,
and you have a bite and you're like, no, I didn't.
Don't come at Taco Bell, okay, Tracy?
No, Taco Bell is my, like, literally, it is, everybody has like the movie that, or the franchise, or like, I like reality TV. I like Fast and Furious. It's my guilty pleasure. Taco Bell all the way is my guilty pleasure. But this Taco Bell over here by my house messes up our order every time. I go and get it once every 3 or 4 months. I'm like, have a hankering for Taco Bell. And I forget that they screw up. And then I get it. And then I'm like, every time, man, you have one job.
We've got one close to our house that does pretty good. But I order on the app. That's my favorite thing. Listen, if you guys are not, if people, listeners, audience members, if you're not ordering food on apps to go to a fast food place and then picking it up at the drive-through window, you're not living your life right. Like sometimes to the fullest.
I like to be old school, Jake.
Yeah, and that's fine, I guess.
Sometimes I don't know what I want until I get there.
But see, I never know what I want. And so for me, ordering on the app takes all the anxiety away from me of having to stand at the menu and decide what I want. And so I can plan it.
You got me into the breakfast at Taco Bell. I didn't even know.
Taco Bell breakfast is
because when they started breakfast, I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the radio because we had to, but I never could get it because I was working during that time. And I've tried it twice now, but like, again, I don't usually leave my house during breakfast time unless I'm going to the gym, and it's kind of bad form to like pick up Taco Bell on the way to the gym or on the way to the gym.
Yeah, I get that.
So
yeah, that makes
how
sense.
late do they serve breakfast till 11?
It's like 10:30 or 11, I think.
I missed it again.
Dang it.
They used to have a naked taco for breakfast that was really good.
What is that?
So
it's
it was
just
like
stuff on a plate?
No, so like the shell was like the egg. And so all of the stuff went into an egg. So it was like the carbs were a lot less and it was pretty tasty.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to Taco Bell for the carbs. I gotta tell you right now, like Taco Bell is not the place I'm going to. I mean, I do like their bowls with the guac and they were trying, all that kind of stuff. But no, if I'm going there, like I'm asking for the most crunchy carbs that I can get. Yeah. That's what's happening. But back to the movie that we're talking about.
Sorry.
Speaking of fast,
we were on track. I took us off that time. That was me.
We're going to talk about food, like I'll be there all the time. But what I love about this is even when he goes back in time, like the town kind of looks like what it is. They don't change the music to like what you would think it would be. So it's still there, which I think was a good choice because like you usually would always go to something from that era. You do kind of hear that music every once in a while.
Yeah.
But them going into them hanging out at the little cafe is like one of my favorite places. I want that cafe to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to go in, get a milkshake, sit at the thing, dip my fries in the milkshake.
I never got into that.
I know that Universal used to have a Back to the Future ride. I want them to have a Back to the Future land like they've got with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where you can go to the 2015 from the movies. You can go to the Wild West town. You can go to that diner and order a tab and have them tell you they can't give you a tab until you order something. So
write a letter, Jake. Make this happen.
And everybody's got to put on the life preserver.
Yeah, I want to be able to buy the life preserver on the way in.
Yeah.
And then you can all have skateboards, like people just breaking their ankles everywhere.
They still have the town hall at the at Universal in California.
Back lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It didn't burn down.
If you take the tour, then you can still see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I love the diner scene too. I love it when he's ordering a Pepsi Light or whatever it is, and then the tab.
Well, just in every different aspect of their movies throughout the whole franchise, they have some kind of diner. They either have like the saloon or they have, like, so it's just, I like cafe. How they keep coming back to, I like how they have specific things that they stick to pull that together.
Yeah.
So can I be a total film nerd here for a second?
No, that's
it wouldn't be an episode of our show if you weren't at some point. So
we've been waiting.
When I was rewatching this, the opening sequence reminded me so much of Rear Window, the Hitchcock movie, because we start off and it's just this moving shot going through Doc's place, and we're seeing all this stuff that's telling you the story before the movie kind of begins. Rear Window, you start off and we see that he's a photographer, and when we see the picture of the car wreck, and then we see the smashed camera, and then we see his cast, and then you see his girlfriend, and
totally different vibe. I would recommend that if you like Back to the Future and you've never seen Rear Window.
Window's incredible.
Right, but it's a different vibe.
Oh, it is, but it's so good. But anyway, but just showing the pictures and all the he's got Albert Einstein, and then he's got the dog, and you just kind of go through it. And it was just like, it was just this really cool, like, nod to the master of Hitchcock.
And then that giant amp and turning it up all the way, like,
and they stole that for a lot of things. That was in they redid that scene for commercials. It was redone in a Michael Jackson music video. Like,
that's right.
This was like,
that was Macaulay Culkin too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was this thing that just kind of grabbed onto everyone, and you would see it. If this movie came out now, it would be TikTok videos all over the place of recreating this scene, because it's so much fun. It's just so much fun. And I think a lot of what we see in the beginning of this movie is why I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit so much, is because he's very like Zemeckis in how he gets you attached to little things and to noticing the little things and to making all of the background, because in this movie and in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it's so busy. Right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel busy. It all feels like it's there for a reason. Like we've gone to see movies where we're like, why is there so much crap? Why is there so much noise? Why is there so much going on? This movie has a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. Like it all has a reason. He has a reason for it.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. But and a great example of that is in the opening scene, because as they go through, they kind of slowly pass the TV screen where they're talking about the plutonium that's been stolen and is gone missing.
And the cases underneath the table.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I noticed that as an older kid, like not just as a little kid watching it, because that went over, like you're not seeing those details, I wasn't, at least. But then I remember seeing that and thinking I was so smart and cool because I figured it out, which I wasn't, but I thought for a minute that I was.
Well, and a lot of the things I didn't even notice till I saw it on the big screen.
Yeah.
You know, because when I was younger, I was watching it from a little TV, and then we got bigger, and then like, you know, I don't know that I watched it in my high school years ever, you know, and so when I had the biggest TV in my house. And so then when we went and saw it on the big screen, I was like, I just kept on elbowing Babe, and I'm like, hey, did you notice? Like, and he's like,
that's cool.
Well, back when we watched this back in the 80s, it was like on a 16-inch TV that was barely, you know, it had the rabbit ears and it was going through RCA cables. And this was.
And it was square shaped instead of a rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the pan and scan going on as you were watching it.
I remember when
in the day when I was a kid,
when I worked at the video store, I would tell people, I'm like, no, this is a pan and scan. And they're like, what? And I'm trying to explain it to them. And they're like, I don't care. I'm like,
yeah, people don't care.
You're missing out.
When I started getting really nerdy about movies, my later years in high school, and I would start looking for the widescreen VHS cassettes. My parents thought I was so weird. They're like, half the screen is cut out.
I know.
Like, it's not cut out. It's the whole screen.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it's cut because the top and the bottom. I'm like, yeah, but when you go to a movie theater and you watch it on the big screen, what shape is that screen?
Yeah.
Having to explain this was really rough.
Yeah, I looked for it in high school a lot, and then when I came back from film school and I was a snob, like I couldn't even stand it if you didn't have that. I was like, it's not widescreen, I'm not watching it. Like people hated me.
Yeah. And then
my family's like, just go to your room.
Oh,
I loved when DVDs
the strangers at the video store. So yes.
Yeah. I loved the DVDs that you could get when they came out that had both the standard and the widescreen.
Yes.
And I didn't understand why all DVDs didn't do that. Why would you get I didn't understand why you would get standard if widescreen was available.
Yes, I paid this money. Why are you cutting off the top and the bottom of my movie? So, we're just old people today. This is an episode about.
Like I said,
it's appropriate though for the topic for the subject
if this
matter.
were to take place today, this would be going back to 1993, and I was 18 and graduated from high school. So yeah, I totally feel.
There's a lot that I think you could do with this though, going back to 1993. Like the struggles.
Music was so good.
Oh, the music.
It was awesome in the 90s. But also like the the main character going back like, okay, well, let's just figure this out. Let's just Google it really quick. It's just what?
What do you want to do?
Look it up on the internet.
You do that?
What now?
Yeah.
Like, well, don't you have a computer? I mean, there's one at the school or something, or at the library, but not everybody had a home computer in 93, and it was. Yeah. I think there's a lot that it would be interesting.
But okay, don't throw that out into the universe. Like that doesn't mean it needs to be made.
But
I just watched the remake of White Man Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Not good.
I mean,
well, it's
that's a different episode, but I mean, there were some interesting things for today, right? But it doesn't mean it has to be. And there's some interesting things that could happen. I agree.
Good version.
But I want, if it happened, it's like that lightning in a bottle. Like you'd want Zemeckis, and who are these characters that could be believable, like as these, you know, it's just
the actors are so iconic in these roles. Like Crispin Glover, like he is such a weird dude, but I'm fascinated by him. Like he was on American Gods, and it was incredible to see, and he's just so unique, but I think he's really fascinating. Leah Thompson, I had a biggest crush on Leah Thompson. She and Elizabeth Shue, those were my crushes there for a while.
And she had weird relationships in the 80s with her son in this one, and then with a duck and Howard the Duck. Like she had a rough time in the 80s relationship.
I remember going to the movie and I knew nothing about Howard the Duck. My parents were just like, "Oh, it's PG. We'll just take him to the movie." And I remember just sitting there going, "I really like her, but what is going on?"
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is probably one of my favorite castings. One of my favorite. I mean, he plays it with just enough eccentric behavior, but so much loving
it's
kindness
right
toward Marty.
Like that could have gone sideways so fast. He could have been so annoying, and instead you just love him.
And what I love about this too is it's classic storytelling in that, look, this is the moment in time that we're seeing these characters in their lives. We don't get a whole big backstory on how he and Doc Brown become friends, because like that's weird. Why is this teenager hanging out at this mad scientist's house all the time?
It's not important to the story.
But it doesn't matter. He just does, and it just is that way. But like now when you make a movie, it's like, well, hold on now, that stormtrooper over there in the corner, why is he there and what's his motivation? Let's make a Disney Plus series about it and explain it all.
Well, and that's why I think I have like a little bit of like an issue with redoing it, is there's something about the movies that came out in the 80s in that, yes, this is a very clean cut kind of family movie, but there's still kind of this like
there's a bit of an
guerrilla filmmaker feel. Not everything is so clean and shiny.
Right.
Like it feels more real, and I feel like now we've got all these remakes of movies and they don't have that same kind of grittiness. And I'm not saying this is like a gritty story. I'm talking about the feeling of the film.
No, totally.
It's not as clean and shiny and packaged and everything. And that's how my difference with White Man Can't Jump. I mean, you're going from, you know, this really urban, gritty, like Spike Lee. And now, yes, the story kind of works and I get it, but it's just like, it just is new laundry that just came out of the dryer and I handed it to you. Like it hasn't lived a life. Like it hasn't, you know, it just feels like when I watched it, it felt like it belonged on the Disney Channel. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that style of movie. It's White Man Can't Jump.
I love that metaphor.
Yeah.
Just fresh out of the dryer.
Well, I remember thinking something along those lines when they redid the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and they tried to make it all serious and gritty and a drama instead of a comedy. I'm like, so basically what you've done is you've taken Will Smith out of the picture because he's not the main character, and you've made it not a sitcom where you can now sprinkle in some serious issues, and it tried to make it too over the top and too serious. So you've taken everything that was good about the original and now you want me to sit and watch it, and I'm just not.
Yeah. A movie that I would say
pull me in.
Like, go watch it because it fits in the categories of the movies that we're talking about right now. And it's a movie that just came out this weekend, and it's called Blackberry, and it's a movie about the phone, the Blackberry. And it feels so, and maybe it's because it came out, like the story takes place in the 90s, right?
Right.
Or early 2000s, sorry. But it feels very much like it's here to tell you this story, and it over dramatizes it a little bit, but it's here to tell you this story, and there's no apologies to how these people acted. And the coloring is very much like, it's just, I like, yes, sometimes it's great to have a movie that's just well packaged and everything's pretty and everything's in its place. And you know, the director dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and here it is fresh and snuggly and smells great out of the dryer. Sometimes you want a movie that you like dug for, and then you picked it up and smelled it, and you're like, that'll do. Like it's and you put it on. Like sometimes I want a movie that feels worn. It has lived a life.
It's wrinkled up in the corner.
Yeah,
you can tell it's not fresh out of the dryer, but it doesn't stink too bad.
But it's comfortable.
Put it on. But yeah,
it's comfortable.
It's your favorite.
Go out. It makes you feel good.
Yeah,
you know, like that's the kind of movie I want. And if this movie got remade to do that now, I want it to be more of it feels worn.
The problem with having, and I don't want it to be remade. There are some movies that I just don't want the remake. You can throw whatever Muppet casting you want at me. I don't want the Princess Bride remade. I don't.
I don't think that movie needs to be remade either.
And there's just some movies that stand on their own enough that you don't need to remake them at all.
There's more stories to tell.
Yeah.
When these movies were made, we were only telling stories from like one very specific perspective. Now we've got all these perspectives that we can tell stories from. So just start making new stories.
And we under
the laundry that you were supposed to put away last week and grab the story from the bottom.
Yeah.
Pick it up, shake it up, smell it.
If we remade this, it would either be all like Nostalgia Fest fan service callback stuff, or it would be like, let's revolutionize the story and really dig deep. Or I don't need either of those things to happen. Just let me watch my movie. Now I'm yelling at the cloud as an old man. It's fine.
Well, and I'll give you my yelling at the cloud. The movies now, it's so funny because we talk about how Hollywood's kind of creatively bankrupt, and like they made Air, which is the story of the making of the Nikes, right?
Yeah.
The making of Tetris. And now they just announced they're making a movie about the guy who invented the flaming hot Cheeto. Like,
this is 2023.
All right. So
and Blackberry feels like it's in that same category.
I just watched Air again last night.
I've heard it's good.
I just listened to the Shoe Dogs book, and it was so interesting that I watched Air again. I do think there's something to be said about telling us the stories of people behind all of these great things.
Totally. I just think it's
reaching for the hot Cheeto, that maybe could be like a Netflix mini, like fun.
That's like the new niche. Like, the superhero genre is
2023 is going to be the year that we remember as the year when we made all these movies about how stuff was.
I think that happened the same year Miracle came out. It was like all of these sports movies about great, like the stories of great athletes and great coaches. It was like we had 2 to 3 years of that thing. Yeah. And it's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's just, it's one of those trends. Yeah. And I think that's on trend.
It's like
although hot Cheeto might be bad. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the story is. Maybe it's very intriguing.
I know that he was a janitor at some point and then hot Cheeto. So, but it's like when Disney announced they were making Bug's Life, and then DreamWorks had to make Ants, and then we had the competing volcano movies.
Yep. We had Armageddon and Deep Impact also came out the same year.
So it's like, they're making a biopic about somebody who created something. We need to do that.
We can do that.
Yeah. The other thing that I'd hate to see in a remake of Back to the Future, though, is there's something to be said about all the practical effects in this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that they would try and CGI so much of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be.
Well, and here's the problem with CGI. Again, we talk about the cost of movies and things like that. CGI is just more cost effective, I think, than building a set and doing the practical effects.
Right.
But there's a certain amount of art that's lost. And it's the same thing when we look at animation. Everything's all about the 3D computer animation stuff now, and we're not doing the hand-drawn animation as much anymore. And that's an art that's being lost over time, and it's sad. But making movies, especially mainstream movies, it's a business, and they're going to do what makes money.
Absolutely.
Well, and I feel like there's a place for all of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And just because one movie has all of the CGI doesn't mean the other movie doesn't. Like Fast and Furious franchise, the one thing I love about that is because I know they are blowing up real cars.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that they are thinking about how, because they can't shoot these scenes over and over. So they really have to choreograph these shots, and they usually have 1 or 2 cars, and some of them aren't the real cars. They're built to be that. But I love knowing that. I love knowing that they've got to choreograph how these things are going to explode, and how all of that. But then you get a movie like Transformers, which I love, and none of that is real,
Right.
And so there's a time and a place for all of it, but not every movie.
And CGI can still work. I mean, like Guardians 3, the CGI worked for me, whereas Quantumania, it was awful.
Yeah.
And so it really comes down to the painter, not the paintbrush. But it's not the tools.
And not that I want to dwell on this, but I will say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is the exception now for Marvel movies and CGI, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania seems to be more the rule lately. And that makes me sad a little bit in my heart. But
I feel like this is our hater show, but it's not. We're just kind of we're unloading some of our thoughts and feelings. But if you've listened to any of our other shows, you know that we like all of these things in the context to the movies that we've talked about. But it's what we're really talking about here is so in Back to the Future, what it reminded us when we watched this movie is that you can make just this simple movie. It just feels it just feels like, yes, they put the set together, but then they showed up and they just all had to interact with each other. Real things were moving. It was, I don't know. It just makes me think of better times.
The Darth Vader scene where he's got the Walkman. It's so smart, but it's so simple. He's in the hazmat suit. He's straight out of the 1950s. He's playing Van Halen. That his dad, they've never heard guitar like that. I mean, it's just, it's simple.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. He's Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, and it just drives me crazy every time because obviously that's not right. But it is such an iconic scene. And there's so much in this movie. I love the story. And I think that's why it works, right? Because a lot of times with sci-fi type movies, we get caught up in the science, we get caught up in the theories, we get caught up in the world that we're building, those kind of things. In this, it is about the story. It's about him connecting with his parents in a new way. It's about him understanding and seeing his parents as people. Because I think when you're a teenager, you look at your parents, you're like, they don't get me. They don't understand me. They don't know what it's like. They don't know what I'm going through. And then he goes back and he sees his parents in that same time in their life and seeing the same struggles, seeing his mom that she snuck alcohol out of the liquor cabinet to bring to the prom.
And his mom was kind of a naughty hottie.
Yeah.
Checking out the guy in his underwear and Calvin.
Well, his dad wasn't doing much better. Climbing up in the tree as a peeping Tom. And there's just those moments where he sees them as real people and can connect with them on a new level. You've got his dad who is the nerd who's not popular at all in school, and how does he get the girl?
Well, Glover's laugh. Can't even do it.
He is so good in this movie. And you've just got those moments where he's able to connect with them and you get to see them and see them in a new light. I just love the storytelling in it. And I think that's why this movie does hold up, because it doesn't matter that it's 85 going back to 55. It doesn't matter that it's, whatever. It's really that story of
it's the heart.
Yeah. The story that's there. And I think that gets missing in some movies. But at the same time, it's a sci-fi movie. Like, if you talk about the story and the connections and things like that, and then say, oh, and we're setting this in this world where you're going to travel back in time in a DeLorean, it's easy to get lost in all the shiny stuff, but at the heart of it is the story that he's going through and the connections and the people. And I like that.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I think that's why it still holds up even after.
Yeah. I mean, like I was watching it and like some of the special effects look a little dated. The editing scene with the Libyans, that doesn't hold up really well. Just in the editing, let alone the cultural concept, but you forgive it. It's like Val said, it's got these rough edges, but that's like kind of why you're drawn to it. Like it still works.
Yeah. This was a studio taking a little bit of a chance on a newer director, even though he had Spielberg in his back pocket helping him out.
Right.
But this was we don't know. I mean, they kind of set up the sequels at the end, but I don't know that we knew we were going to get part 2 and part 3.
If you never did, you would have been okay.
Yeah. I mean, just having him fly off in the future,
like
then in your mind, you just make up what's happening,
right.
You know, and it sets that up. By the way, I quote that every time I'm backing out of our driveway. I'll put on my sunglasses and I'll look at my wife and I'll say, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. And then she lovingly rolls her eyes at me. And yeah. I think one of the first times that Ben saw this movie and we got to that part, he was like, Dad, you say that all the time in the car. Yes, I do.
I made it up. They took it from me.
Yeah. It was my line. Christopher Lloyd asked if he could borrow it, and I said, sure.
It's like when the kid learns the magician's secret, you know, and you're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
It's not as special anymore. Yeah.
My dad's not quite as clever as I thought he was.
I mean, they're going to find out at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to delay that as long as possible.
Yeah.
He still has time to do more awesome things.
Yeah. I still say every time we go around a corner to hang on to your butts.
I love that. I used to do that all the time with Sammy.
And they don't know that's from Jurassic Park yet, because I don't know that we've shown Ben Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that one might
need to get on that.
Like, I want him to watch it. He's a little sensitive, a little young yet to watch.
Yeah. Well, I know how to knock that sensitivity right out of him. Make him watch all the Jurassic Park, do a marathon.
The movie Tough Love, the Tough Love movie school.
You want to make it in this world?
I'm not saying put Alien in front of him. I'm just saying Jurassic Park.
We will eventually, because we love that movie. I just think right now he's a little young.
Yeah.
So,
super quick before we jump into grades, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and here's a follow-up. I watched the Tom Hardy film Minotaur, and wow, it has like a 13% Rotten Tomatoes, and it deserves it. It is like, sometimes you get a movie that's so bad it's good. This is so bad it's just awful.
Yeah, I mean, I could have told you when you said Tom Hardy and Minotaur. Like, I just knew.
Yeah, that was a
But thank you for the warning. You know what's not awful? The fact that we're raising money for the American Cancer Association.
Yes.
Yep. We are going to be running a 10K in Disneyland in January, and part of that is we are raising just over $2,000 that we're trying to raise. That's our goal as a team, so that we can run that race, and it goes to fight against cancer.
Yep.
I have to be careful. I know I word it sometimes. I get a hard time from Steph from Cutscenes and Cupcakes. She always says, "Oh, you're raising money for cancer." Nope, for the fight against cancer. We're anti-cancer, pro fighting against it.
Well, and I got to tell you, I mean, it's such a special group of people, and you guys are going to meet some of these people through the Facebook group and through. We're going to have a brunch at Disney where you can meet the team, and we're going to have a couple of speakers. It doesn't take too long, but you get free Mickey waffles. I mean, it's great. But like, I've got a friend who's a part of the team. She's going to be running a 10K in Walt Disney World in January. She's currently going through cancer. Like, she is having chemo treatments right now.
Wow.
And she's out there wearing her hat, and she's training, and her daughter's going to be doing the full marathon. And it's just so inspiring to see these people who are like fighting this or who have fought this. And it's just such an incredible cause. Like $30 will give somebody a trip. Like, they will drive. They have volunteers who will drive people from their home to the cancer to get to their medical appointments. They'll put them up for the night at the Hope Lodge. I mean, it's just such an incredible individual charity. And everything that you donate goes directly to ACS. Like, none of this money is going to us. We're paying for our trips. We're paying for the airfare, the park tickets, everything. So anything that you donate goes directly to American Cancer Society.
So we will put that link on our Facebook page. We'll make sure we'll pin it to the top so everybody can see it. You can go there and you can donate. We appreciate any of your support for that. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll post lots of pictures and videos and things like that while we're in the parks. So it'll be great. Make sure you're following our adventures as we get ready to do that. So,
and follow the social so you can win passes to see movies like Fast X.
Yeah, listen, we do a lot on Facebook. We have heard over and over again that it's for old people. We're old people, and we're
just
reaching
proved
out
it to you with this episode.
Yeah. If you don't think that's who, I mean, that is who we are. Yep. And if that's you as well, then follow us on Facebook, because we will be giving away tickets and things like that. We'd love to see you at our screenings, and we'd love to interact with you on our social media. So please follow us there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, so you never miss a new episode. And I'm about ready to close up, but we have to give a grade to this movie.
Yeah, we haven't done that. Shoot.
Yeah. Tracy, let's start with you today.
This one's an A for me. This one's got all the nostalgia, but it still holds up. Sometimes you have to separate them. Sometimes I have to give a nostalgic grade and then a modern day grade. It still really holds up for me. The story is great. The acting is fantastic. The music, as we talked about, the score was great. The Huey Lewis soundtrack. It's really a slice in time, because I remember being 10, going to the theater, having the popcorn, and having my mind blown because I knew nothing about this movie, and just being such a fan of it. And I think I saw it in the theater like 3 times that summer. Like this was back in the day where you could buy like summer matinee tickets for like $1. And, mom would just drop me off and I'd go see it with my brother, and it was just great. So A for me.
Val?
I'm in between.
That's okay.
I don't want to not make it a triple A rated movie, but it's not always an A for me. I feel like a Muppet every time I do that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening right now. I guess I should join in.
Because in my mind it's a B plus.
Okay.
But when I was younger, it was an A. That's where I'm hitting, because I know Tracy, you and I have this when I was younger, I watched it all the time. I loved it so much. And now that I'm older, I still think it's fun. I think it's a good movie, but I don't go to it as much. So do I take the grade from when I was younger, or do I take the grade from my rules right now?
The difference, give it an A-, and that's still in the A range.
All right, fine.
I like that I hadn't given my A, but Val knew she was the one that was going to bring it down from being AAA rated. Yeah, this is an A for me.
I mean, I knew.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. If it's on, I will stop and watch it. If I'm flipping through channels, I'll stop and watch this movie. And it doesn't matter where it starts or where it's at, I'll watch it. It's just such a big part of growing up, and really brought me into loving movies and filmmaking and stories and things like that. So yeah, it's an A from me as well. So all right, there you go. We'll call this AAA rated with an asterisk for the A- part. That really should be a B plus, because we talked her.
That's why I have to wait till I'm at the window at Taco Bell, because I'm just need to be there in the moment.
All right, really quick. I hate when you go to the drive-thru and somebody is sitting there and they take 10 minutes to order, and it's this is a very simple menu. You have been here before. I get you don't know what you want until you order it, but don't take 10 minutes going,
No, I don't do that.
I
don't do that.
Or this is the other reason why I love ordering on the app, because we're ordering for, if we're taking the whole family out, we're ordering for 8 people. And usually if I do that, I'll do pickup inside, because I don't want to be that guy in the drive-thru that they're like, okay, here's your first tray of drinks. Here's your second tray of drinks. Here's your bag. Here's another bag. For me.
Also, you can thumb through and make sure they didn't miss anything.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I agree.
Our show is not sponsored by Taco Bell.
Not yet. Not yet. We can think outside the bun. We can make a run for the border.
Taco box.
Yeah, we can do all of the slogans that you guys have. Yo quiero Taco Bell. We're here for it.
Peter Davidson.
Yeah, we could have him on as a guest on the show. Oh boy.
Do we have to?
Speaking of things that are not fresh out of the laundry.
Peter.
You don't know that.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Oh boy.
He might shower 3 times a day. You have no idea.
Every time we start talking about what a celebrity might smell like, it just doesn't always go well. I
bet you Leah Thompson smells wonderful though.
Has she been spending more time with Howard the Duck, or is she?
Doesn't matter.
He seems to be pretty busy. He's doing lots of movies.
Yeah, he's showing up. All right, there we go. Monday night. Tonight, you will see us at Fast X. If you're there, if you've won tickets, congratulations.
And this will be fun because Jake and I are not big Fast X fans like Val, so this will be good.
We are there to have a good time.
Yep,
that's all.
Just entertaining.
I'm just there to be entertained.
That's why I go. I be entertained.
I was entertained.
I haven't seen the other 9 movies, so I hope I'm not going to be lost. All right.
But you're going to learn something because I have some amazing trivia before the movie that I don't know if anybody's going to know. I will be surprised if I give away any prizes.
I'm excited for that. And I'm excited because they're going to try to blow up the Vatican. So I feel like that's right up there with sealing the Declaration of Independence.
That's a good point. Yes.
I'm fun. Like, what do you have against the Vatican?
Well, I'm just saying, like, no, nothing. I don't want the Vatican to get blown up. I just mean that's a crime on that level. Like, what's the most ridiculous crime we can think of? Stealing the moon from Despicable Me is a good one. Stealing the Declaration of Independence and blowing up the Vatican. Those are
are 3 big
ridiculous things that you would do in a movie, and only. And
we're going to talk about that when we talk. Are we going to make this a regular episode, or is it going to be?
We need to decide what we need to do on that. We need to do more Patreon
tonight at the theater.
So. All right. Join our Patreon, and thanks for being here. And until next time,
we may or may not.
We may or may not. I don't know. Movies.
I don't know.
Whatever.
That's the power of love.
Bum, bum, ba-da-da-dum.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.